Israel's military says it has hit roughly 30 targets in an area of Beirut's southern suburbs controlled by Hezbollah. The strikes come over a period of 48 hours and after an evacuation order was issued for the area. Israel has intensified its campaign against the militant group in September. Overnight airstrikes and artillery shelling also hit the south of the country, where local media say 5 people have been killed. The war has claimed thousands of civilian lives. Stella Männer has more on the impact on children.
Just 6 weeks ago, Mohamad was playing football every day, training to become the next Ronaldo. Now he's in a hospital bed doing mobility exercises with his aunt. The 11-year-old survived an Israeli airstrike on his hometown Saida. His aunt says the family's home collapsed after a building in their neighborhood was hit.
When we arrived, none of the buildings were left standing. All the houses were destroyed. It took about an hour for the rescue teams to pull Mohamad and his mother out of the rubble.
Mohamad was severely injured. He suffered third-degree burns to almost half of his body. 6 weeks after the attack, the swelling of his face is much better. He was transferred to the Lebanese hospital in Beirut, the only facility in the country that is specialized on treating patients with burns, a typical war injury.
In the first few weeks, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he'd wake up and start crying for his mum and dad.
Mohamad is one of thousands of children who have suffered in this conflict. Israel claims it is targeting Hezbollah military assets in Lebanon, but the Lebanese Health Ministry says more than 100 children have been killed and many more injured. That is, in the 50 days since Israel escalated the conflict. It is the mental state of those children, not just the physical, that is at risk. Many children have endured the airstrikes, lost family members or experienced displacement. Their trauma could cause long-term consequences. Emne is on her way to lead an art therapy session for displaced children in a shelter in Beirut. For the next hour, the children have the space to express their emotions in a group painting.
We see a lot of anxiety and stress and detachment issues, which is very normal, and it shows with the kids who just run and hug me, even if it's for them the first time they see me.
What are you doing?
Painting.
Why?
It's beautiful.
Being able to paint flowers, to paint a sun, to paint a sky, to just play with the medium itself is very important for them to just be free and forget.
Emne is planning to expand her sessions. She wants to reach more children in different shelters and is collecting donations for her personal initiative in the hope that she can help more children have a small break from the war.
And for more, let's bring in our Beirut Bureau Chief, Mohamad Chreyteh. Mohamad, how have 6 weeks of constant attacks affected children in Lebanon?
Very badly indeed. The war is affecting children and families on so many aspects. Physically, of course, as the number of civilian casualties is on the increase as Israel stepped up its bombardment campaign across Lebanon, but also mentally and morally, just try to imagine life for thousands of children and their families away from home, scattered in shelters across the country, deprived from education and with very limited access to basic needs and services. It's a horrible time for almost everyone here in Lebanon, and particularly for those most vulnerable children and women.
Now, what about the long-term effects of these attacks on children and their development?
It's a very frustrating time for children and their families as the whole education system is on the brink and is disrupted by the war. Thousands of children are in schools not for receiving education but to shelter instead. Many of these children have lost family members and friends and relatives who were killed in Israeli strikes across the country. So we're already hearing many of them speaking about revenge in the next war with Israel, as you know, they very often still hear loud booms of heavy airstrikes here in Lebanon, and they constantly hear the very annoying sound of Israeli drones overhead all day long. So it's not at all a safe and healthy environment for these children, and there's no question that thousands of them will be mentally affected and will need support.
Now, is Lebanon's healthcare system able to handle all of the people in need of treatment?
Yeah, this is another layer of the problem. The healthcare system is struggling to handle the increasing number of casualties, and many hospitals went out of services in the vicinity of active military operations between Hezbollah and the Israeli army, and this is further overwhelming the rest of the healthcare centers across the country. We also we need to take into account, into consideration, that Lebanon has been through 4 years of financial and economic collapse, and it's very much now depending on aid from international organizations and governments who have been sending food and medical supplies. That's in fact what is keeping the healthcare system able to operate, even though very hardly.
DW's Beirut Bureau Chief Mohamad Chreyteh. Thank you very much, Mohamad.